Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we've got some absolutely breaking and frankly disappointing news to talk about. You see, just yesterday afternoon, the United States Senate held a vote to try to cancel President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Now, the vote ended up in a 49-49 tie, which means that President Trump's tariffs are staying in place, which is obviously a major win for the America First agenda, but here's the part that's really gotten people talking. You see, 3 Republican senators actually voted alongside the Democrats in an effort to cancel President Trump's tariffs. 3 of them. Republican Senators Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and shockingly Rand Paul all voted to cancel the very tariffs that are currently working to rebuild American industry, reignite our domestic economy, and finally put our nation back on equal footing when it comes to global trade. Now, Senator Rand Paul claims he voted to cancel President Trump's tariffs because they conflicted with his free market principles. Now, before we unpackage all of that, I want you all to take a listen to what Senator Rand Paul had to say about all of this for himself. But first, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, take a look at this.
You are maybe getting some support and some praise from Democrats, but the support and praise from Republicans, you're saying that you're getting it, but these are individuals that you don't even want to be on the record for saying that. Is that fair to say?
It's a quiet whisper, and people come up to me in the hall. You know how in Atlas Shrugged, they would come up and say, "Who is John Galt?" They whisper in my ear, "Free trade is good. Keep going, keep going." But they don't want to say it because of the politics of it. And look, when I put free trade articles on my Twitter account, I get mobbed. I mean, I get what they call ratioed. I get more comments than likes, which they say isn't good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's not good, and I'll tell you why. Listen, I like a lot of libertarian principles in concept, but right now, many of those libertarian principles just aren't equipped to fix our nation's current problems. We can't keep pretending like we live in some fantasy utopia where everyone trades fair and plays nice. That's not reality. That is not the world that we live in. And on top of that, President Trump's tariffs aren't just some theoretical policy experiment. They're working right now, tangibly, visibly, at this very moment. Nearly every country on the planet is now scrambling to negotiate with the United States of America. China, Canada, Mexico, countries that were openly mocking us just 6 months ago are now calling the White House begging to make a deal. Even our so-called adversaries are starting to play ball because they've finally realized that we are not bluffing. And yet, in the midst of all of this, Senator Rand Paul thinks now is the time to pull the plug? Here's the truth. Siding with the Democrats to cancel these tariffs doesn't just show poor judgment, it shows disloyalty to the very America First voters who voted to put President Trump back in the White House. And so that's why siding with the Democrats and voting against President Trump's tariffs, when they're currently working so well in pursuit of this free market pipe dream, is not only incompetent, frankly, it's anti-American. Voting against President Trump's tariffs is like voting against American workers. It's voting against domestic manufacturing jobs. It's voting against standing up to China. It's voting against everything that the America First movement really stands for. And that is why this is such a big deal. The harsh reality is, we can't have Rand Paul's idealistic libertarian free market when every other country on the face of the planet is looking to actively take advantage of us. It doesn't work. President Trump's tariffs are the leverage that we need to force countries like China to the negotiating table. And President Trump's tariffs are the sole and exclusive reason that we've been able to begin fixing our egregious trade imbalances with every other country, as well as start to rebuild our domestic manufacturing sector. And just in case anyone forgot, this entire notion is what got President Trump elected in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. Trump told us he would bring back tariffs, he told us he would level the playing field, He told us he'd make other countries pay their fair share, and the American people overwhelmingly voted for it. So once again, what Rand Paul did yesterday wasn't just a vote against President Trump's tariffs, it was a vote against the democratic will of the American people. It was a vote against the very voters who handed this movement a landslide victory just a few months ago. In a world where every other country has been taking advantage of our free market delusions for decades, it's not noble and heroic to preach libertarian values while our factories close, our borders deteriorate, and our workers get screwed over. It's incompetent and anti-American. That is what it is. Thank God that Americans across the country have woken up and realized that if we truly want to make this country great again, we need to start sticking up for ourselves, because the unfortunate reality is that if we don't, no one else will. Our incompetent leadership has sat idly by for decades now, holding on to various theoretical political beliefs that don't actually work in the real world, as every other country around the globe has capitalized on our delusions to rob us blind. And let's be very clear, it would be absolutely splendid if the entire world would agree to adopt our libertarian principles, but that's just not the case. We live in a cutthroat world where if we show weakness on the world's stage, we will get taken advantage of. And so that's exactly what's been happening for decades now. For decades now, our incompetent leadership, or if we want to be generous, our idealistic leadership, has allowed the entire world to screw us over. As much as Rand Paul might want the world to operate a certain way, or for other countries around the world to adopt his libertarian free trade laissez-faire principles, he needs to come to terms with the fact that that's just not going to happen anytime soon. So you know what? Thank God that this Senate vote failed, despite the best efforts of these Republicans in name only that decided to vote alongside the Democrats. Because, ladies and gentlemen, going forward, we are putting America first, which means we need to live in reality and not in libertarian fantasy land. Now, folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates as it relates to all of this. So if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. As I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle here on YouTube. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.